Hello, Carla. Thank you for joining us today. If you don't mind, would you please just introduce yourself?
My name is Carla Spina. My current position is the Head of Research and Development at Exciton Technologies Incorporated. We're currently researching and developing non-traditional modalities for addressing antimicrobial resistance.
Could you just give a little overview of your research area when you were at McGill?
I started in my master's with Dr. Scott Bowley, who's still there and who I'm doing a collaboration with. Ended up working on zinc oxide nanoparticles for photosensing applications, which turned into a quantum mechanical study of the surface defects in nanoparticles.
What did you do right after graduating?
So immediately after graduation, I actually jumped ship and went into food science. I have always been interested in food science and food technologies. I had been researching on the side molecular gastronomy, but I ended up working at a food science laboratory in the University of Alberta, where I was investigating formulations for biodiesel as well as crystallization processes in fats for chocolate applications.
How translatable was the work that you did in your graduate degree to these jobs?
So the fundamentals of research were very applicable, but one of the greatest skills I believe that I was taught in grad school was independence. So independent learning as well as independent curiosity, the actively seeking out and resolving problems, as well as having the skills and tools to perform research independently.
Can you maybe give a little description of what your typical workday is or what that entails?
I focus on the strategic alignment of the research program to our business development goals. So that has a very large overarching scope of work. I am active in regulatory strategic development as well as regulatory submissions. I focus on the business development side where it comes to market research as well as the development of our business program summaries, pitch decks. I also am involved in clinical study where I develop clinical study design for the evaluation and development of new products. In addition, obviously, and fundamental is the development of the research program. So I am directly involved in the development of test methods, quality system programs, and I do try to jump in the lab whenever I can.
When was the last time you did a wet lab experiment?
Whenever there's a problem, I always like to see it. Even with COVID, I jump in the lab as often as I can. I find it more relaxing sometimes than working on manuscript preparation or grant writing at my desk. I still love science.
So one thing I noticed is that you did an internship through the DAAD program, and you did that in Germany. How was that? How do you think it impacted your career?
It was fantastic. So I always knew I wanted to do industry. There's a big push to academics, but I knew I never wanted to do that. And so I wanted to complete an internship before I graduated so that I have that real world experience. I went to Ludwigshafen. It was my very first time abroad. It was challenging at first. I was in the formulations division and I had the most incredible supervisor, someone who was a brilliant fellow and never afraid to say he didn't know the answer and to ask why. So I was investigating non-aqueous stabilization of emulsions. That environment was excellent for understanding what it was like to work in a company. Now, BASF is the largest chemical company in the world, so they had all the resources available, but it was something extremely interesting to see how well the departments worked together. If you didn't know anything, you ran down the hallway and knocked on someone's door, and they just had all the resources that you could think of. Still am friends with a lot of the people I met through the program.
What's one thing you wished you learned as a graduate student?
Business development. I actually had inquired if I could take a course in business when I was in the chemistry program. At that time, it wasn't permitted. After my brief postdoc in food science, I started in biotech, and I remember my first meeting, there were so many acronyms related to business that I had no concept. I actually pulled our corporate lawyer aside after the meeting and asked her to run through all the acronyms with me because I had no idea what they mean. Give that advice to everyone who's interested in small company is to start to understand what the scope of business is. It gives you a lot of information as to what drives company interests.
How would you recommend students prepare themselves better for a workforce that's outside of academia?
Exposure, I think, is the key word. We have interns all the time. And I've told a lot of the students, if you're not too sure what you want to do, start to take a look at job postings, see what's of interest to you, and start to navigate what the requirements are. Because in the job postings, if you see something that you really are interested in, they clearly lay out for you what the requirements are.